What's happening, guys? It's Jeremy Blanton, and today I wanted to take some time and share with you 5 things you must know and do when moving to Myrtle Beach. These 5 things are going to be critical to making your move to the area much smoother and much easier, and it's going to help to alleviate a lot of stress and headache. And by the way, before I get started, if you're thinking about making the move, my information's down below. Feel free to reach out to me. You can shoot me an email to info@jeremyblanton.com. It's all down in the contact information. I'd love to help you make the move. But let's get into this. And the first thing that I want to talk about is property taxes. When you're buying a home here in the area, we always talk about having some of the lowest property taxes in the country. In fact, I've studied it and researched it, and it says that we are the 6th lowest in the country. But here's the thing, to get that really reduced rate, you have to take some time and apply for a primary residence. If not, Horry County is going to automatically put you in as a second home or an investment property. What that's going to do is basically take your taxes and make them almost triple of what they would be if you're a primary residence. So for example, my home that I currently have, taxes on that home are just around $900 to $1,000 because I've applied and received my primary residence. But if I didn't do that, my taxes would be almost $2,700 to $3,000 a year. So it's very important that you take the steps after closing to get this in place. You need to have it all taken care of and accomplished by January 1st of the year. Actually, it's December 31st because that's what they look at on the records. And so if you don't have it set up as primary residence, you're going to get the bill for the next year and it's going to be triple the amount. And you're going to have to go through the whole process of trying to fight to get it reduced. And it's a lot of work to do that way. So instead, take the time, go over to Horry County's website and follow the instructions. They now have it set up online that you can do it to get your primary residence taxes. Once you get this all in place, you're going to find yourself saving a bunch of money, and you'll thank me for saving you that money in the long run. Now, along with the property taxes, I should probably have kind of a 1B here, and that's vehicle taxes. This is something that I should probably just take a minute and mention. You are going to pay vehicle taxes here in the area. But even when you take your vehicle taxes as well as your property taxes and put them together, you still should save a lot of money over having what you paid maybe in New York or New Jersey or Pennsylvania or in whatever state you're moving here from. Once again, with that, that's going to be a step that you're actually going to have to do and get your cars registered in order to get the primary discount. Now, to give you an idea on costs on those things, my vehicle that I drive right now, it's a 2015 Ford Explorer, and last year my taxes were $315. The year before, they were right around $365. So as your vehicle starts to depreciate and age and get more mileage on and the value goes down, so does that tax number. But guys, taxes are something you definitely want to pay attention to, and you want to be proactive to make sure you're saving as much as possible. Now, back on the 1A property tax part here for a minute. If you're over 65, once you've owned your home for a full calendar year, so if you purchased a home right now this year, between now and December 31st, you would not be able to apply for this until January 1st of the next year, 2024. Why? You have to be the full owner of a property for 1 full calendar year, and then you can apply for the homestead exemption. And what that homestead exemption does is takes $50,000 off of the assessed value of your home. It's going to save you a couple $100 more each year. So my grandmother, when she was alive, she had the homestead exemption. It saved her more money on her property that she owned, and her property taxes, they're right around $400 for a year. So it's definitely worth taking the time to do the extra paperwork and save more in the long run. So the second thing that you got to do when you're moving to the area, and once you have that home under contract, is you need to take the time to get your insurance binded immediately. Because if there becomes a named storm out in the Atlantic Ocean, it can cause all kinds of issues and you could run into a problem with closing. You know, I shared a video about this a few weeks back, and let me just share a little bit of the horror story of what happened to my family. And that was, we were buying a home down here, we were paying cash, and the agent we had, well, they were less than stellar to say the least. And we get to the day before closing and the attorney reaches out to us and says, we haven't received your insurance binder yet. Are you getting insurance for your home? You don't have to since you're paying cash, but we would highly recommend it. Now, the agent that we had should have taken time to warn us of this and tell us. Of course, it was in the summer, and of course, there was a named storm that was out in the Atlantic Ocean at this time. So all of the normal carriers like State Farm and Allstate and the big name insurance providers, they were not writing any policies at the time. So we ended up having to go to one of those specialty companies and pay ridiculous amounts of money to get insurance for our home for the first year. If we had known this ahead of time and had somebody tell us this, we could have gotten a normal policy, and instead of having to pay $7,000, we probably would have paid more like $1,000 for that first year. So make sure when you're buying a home, take the time, get the insurance done right after you're under contract. It doesn't matter. You can still shop other companies, and if you find somebody cheaper, it's always great. You can go back and do it. But at least having one in place is much better than being stuck like we were. The third thing you need to know when moving to the area is flooding. Flooding is something that we deal with here in our area. And after Hurricane Florence, Hurricane Matthew, and the 1,000-year flood, we definitely had areas of the beach that dealt with water issues. Now, you may think, okay, all the water issues was down along the beach. And we do have those, and we have some areas like down in Surfside that are going to see king tide floods each and every year, a couple times a year. Luckily, we have the tidal charts that we know when those areas are going to be flooded. And the areas that have those water problems there, those homes are built up on piers, so they're not going to have the water. Where you do run into an issue is you can't get your car around anywhere. So I would highly recommend, if you live down there, make sure you get either a Jeep or a truck or some sort of SUV that's a little bit higher sitting so you can get through the water, because it'll be there for an hour or two and then it disappears like the tide when it goes out. But during that time, you could have issues. But even more so than that, when we have flooding issues here in our area where it sat around for days in areas that should not have had flooding, those were areas of the beach away from the ocean. Those were places in Conway, places in Sockasty, in Longs and Little River, where we had houses that may have had 6 to 8 feet of water. Now, it's super important for you that are thinking about moving to the area right now that you work with an agent that is able to tell you if this area had water damage or water issues or not. Because you could go ahead and purchase a home thinking, oh, you're getting this great house that's been completely renovated, and at the end of the day, the reason it was renovated was because the house had 6 to 8 feet of water sitting in, and the next time a major storm comes through, it's going to happen again. Having that trusted agent is going to ask for a required property disclosure, where it's going to have to be answered by the seller saying, did this home ever have flood damage? Was there ever a FEMA claim made about the property? And we're going to be able to check those things and make sure that what you're buying is going to be safe. We're also going to reach out to a local insurance agent pretty quickly and find out, do we have to have flood insurance? That may determine whether you can afford the home or not. Because if it's in an area that requires flood insurance, it could be an additional $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year insurance in addition to your regular wind and hail. Now, if it's in an area that doesn't require flood insurance, it's always a good idea to think about getting it. Those areas, you can get it for your home for probably $400 to $500 for the year, and it gives you a great peace of mind. So the fourth thing that I wanted to talk about is probably something that has caused the most amount of confusion, and that is with the closing process and table funding. The way it used to be here in Horry County is that the buyer would go to their attorney's office, they would sign. The seller would go over to theirs, they would sign their documents, and then both of the attorneys would have a courier travel with the paperwork down to the courthouse, and the two couriers would have to meet up, exchange documents, and then go up to the window, hand it, they would take a stamp it, and then we would be recorded. Once that would happen, you would then be able to get the keys to your house and move in. It wasn't that big of a deal most of the time. But if it would happen to be on a weekend or the day before a holiday, you could run into issues where things wouldn't be closed and you wouldn't be recorded, and well, the sellers aren't going to give you keys until they have money in hand. And so people would run into this problem where they couldn't get into their house, they couldn't do anything that they needed, and it would just be complete frustration. Luckily, one of the few things that came about from COVID is called table funding. What that means is that now once the buyer's attorney has all the documents from the seller, as well as the signed documents from the buyer, and also the funding, they can then consider it recorded and disperse funds to the seller, give keys to the buyer, and hand out the checks to all those parties that need to be paid. They then send everything over electronically now to the courthouse, and it goes into the queue, and whenever they can, they will close it, usually within 4 to 6 hours or the next business day. So things are a lot easier now. But some attorneys in town, they're still not doing table funding. And even more so, some of the old school people who've lived here for a while, they feel if it wasn't broke, why do we need to fix it? Why do we need to change it? And so what is that causing? It's causing all kinds of issues where you may have a property you think is going to be table funded and be able to get in today, and no, you're not. You're going to have to find a place to stay for the night, and hopefully it'll record tomorrow. So pay attention to table funding and make sure to have that discussion with your attorney up front so that you know when you can likely expect to be able to get into your home. And the fifth and final thing that you really need to know and pay attention to when moving to the beach right now is that used homes mean used. It's not going to be a perfect property. It's going to have some things that might be a defect. You know, the thing that I always share with people is this. You need to follow the 80-10-10 principle. If the home has 80% of the things that are exactly what you've wanted and you love it and are excited to have it, and 10% that you don't mind having to take care of and change later, and 10% that, you know what, I can live with, then that's more than likely the house for you. Right now, inventory is still extremely low, so finding the perfect house is going to be virtually impossible. You can always go and try to buy a new construction home, but even with those nowadays, there's issues and problems that come up that can take sometimes months or even years to get fully resolved. So let me share with you what happened and how I kind of use this in my life. Well, my wife and I bought our home. Our home was a foreclosure of a foreclosure of a foreclosure. Yeah, the house had been foreclosed on 3 times since it was built and put up on the market for sale the first time. We bought it after the 3rd foreclosure took place, and the home was actually purchased by a contractor, I should put that in air quotes, out of North Carolina, who bought the house and went in and upgraded and renovated the house. What he really did is he went in, he took his paint gun, sprayed some mustard brown kind of color all over the walls, he put some new carpet in and said, hey, the house has been updated. But things he didn't do were things like the vinyl linoleum flooring. There were some big gashes that were out of it, and all he did is take a heat gun and kind of flatten it back down again and left it with the big rips in it. In our bathroom, there was a big tear. Now, those things were unsightly, obviously, to us, and it was bothersome. But we put down a mat over that for a while and didn't really remember it was there. And instead, we were able to move into the home. For us, what was more important is being in the area we wanted to be, for the price that we wanted to pay, and be in the size that we needed to have for our family. So we had those 3 things that were more important than having it perfect. So what did we do? A few months after living in the house, we saved up some money, went and bought about $500 of paint down at the Sherwin-Williams, and spent about 2 weeks painting the house to the colors that we wanted. Then a few months later, we saved up some more money. We called Forever Floor and Tile up in North Myrtle Beach. Shout out to Ted, he's the owner. If you guys need flooring, check it out. He's awesome. Tell him I sent you. And he came out and measured our home, came out, brought a crew, and in 3 days we had new laminate vinyl plank that was through all of the living room, the dining room, the hallways, and the bathrooms. And it cost us right around $7,000 to do the entire job. But what those 2 things did is transform the inside of our house. Now there's one piece left that we're hoping to do here in the next few months. And if you guys know somebody that works in counters and you really love them, do me a favor, drop a comment down below. I'd love to talk to them about it because that's the one piece left. What did the contractor do with our old ones? Well, the people who lived there must have gotten angry as they found out they were being kicked out of the house. And I don't know if they took a hammer or what, and they hit the corner of the island and basically broke a giant chunk off. So what did this contractor do to fix it? He simply took some glue, shoved it in there, and hoped that it would hold. But he didn't clamp it down, so it has a little bit of a bend there on it. So hopefully here in the next few months, we will take care of that. Once we have that taken care of, our house will now be looking $1 million, and it's gonna be an awesome place for us. Why did we buy this house? It fit the criteria that was most important to us and took that 80%. The 10% we didn't mind changing. Paint's cheap, flooring's pretty affordable too, and countertops aren't that big of a deal, but it was in the location we want. Why do we love that location? Today started school. My son, he could ride his bike over to the middle school. My daughter, she's in the elementary and she was able to get on a bus and be to school in 3 minutes. We picked it because we love the location. It's for everything we need on a daily basis. So remember that rule, the 80-10-10 rule. If a home fits those things, then it's probably the right house for you. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and like I said, if you're thinking about making the move to the area, all my contact information is down below. Feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help you buy a house in the area, or if you need one to sell, I'd love to help you with that as well. And as always, if you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, get that bell on, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.